you've also got to think about where your experience lies in that. Have you been doing quality miles or has it been quantity? Sailing across the Atlantic, an amazing experience. Before you start, you've then got a choice of, am I doing coastal or offshore? Because as soon as the exam starts, you can't change. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. And tonight it's going to give you a little chat about what to expect or how to be prepared for your Yachtmaster exam. What I'm not going to do is tell you how to pass the exam. I'm just going to tell you what you need to be aware of before you sign up for an exam, what to kind of think about as you go forward to conducting an exam, and a few other questions in and around that exam process. Who am I? I'm Stuart Cook. I'm a senior course developer and instructor for Ardent Training. We specialise in RYA online theory courses. I've been working within the sail industry for 20 years, or over 20 years now, and I'm an RYA Yachtmaster examiner, instructor and trainer. What we're going to look into this evening, as I say, we want to know, first of all, the prerequisites. Is going ahead with a Yachtmaster exam okay for our level? Where might we want to do our Yachtmaster exam? What paperwork is required, either beforehand or to take with you? The process of the exam. A little look into commercial endorsements of our Yachtmaster certificate of competence, and also answer your questions. First up, before we book our Yachtmaster exam, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. Do you have the required miles and experience within the past 10 years? I'm going to get to that in a minute. Have you skippered a vessel before? Is your theory knowledge up to standard? You need RYA Coastal Skipper and Yachtmaster theory. You can do that online with Ardent Training. And do you have the relevant experience? If the answer to any of them was no, then maybe you're not ready for your Yachtmaster. But we're going to see how you can answer them. If you're going for Yachtmaster Coastal, you need 30 days on the water, 2 days as skipper, 800 nautical miles, of which 50% or more must be in tidal waters, 12 night hours experience, and it'd be a minimum age of 17. Now, it's important to reflect that these are just numbers, and even someone who's got to these, they might not be ready for their Yachtmaster Coastal exam, or as we go forward, the Yachtmaster Offshore exam. So it is that relevant skippering experience and, the overall experience that you've gained through your on-the-water time. Do you feel that you can take a boat out by yourself as skipper and be in charge of all your crew? That's what we're looking to iron out, because if you're not quite ready for that, then we need to build on our experience beforehand. And these ramp up for the Yachtmaster Offshore: 50 days sea time on the water, 5 days as skipper, 2,500 nautical miles, of which 50% or more must be in tidal waters, 5 passages of greater than 60 nautical miles, rum line distance, so that's not sailing around an island and finishing where you started, of which at least 2 of these should be a skipper and at least 2 should be overnight. And you should be a minimum age of 18. Now, to put it into perspective, I had over 20,000 nautical miles when I did my Yachtmaster Offshore. I'm not saying that everybody needs to have that, but there's a difference between quantity of miles and the experience that you've gained from that versus the quality of your miles and the experience you gain from that. And so while we have these, or while the RYA has these minimum requirements that you must meet, you've also got to think about where your experience lies in that. Have you been doing quality miles or has it been quantity? Sailing across the Atlantic, an amazing experience that it is, 2,500 miles, that is quantity miles. You've left one port, you've went into one port, and you've probably done no tidal calculations. You've probably barely tacked but probably haven't tacked. Done a couple of jives maybe. You've had some amazing experience, and you've built some knowledge up from that passage. But someone else comes along and they've done 2,500 miles sailing back and forth across the English Channel consistently for 2, 3, 4 months. That's quality miles. They're going in and out of ports all the time. They're dealing with tides. They're dealing with traffic. Yeah, there's a lot more to think about. So yeah, that's why we have these minimum requirements. We want to think about the quality of these as well. When do you want to do your Yachtmaster exam? Well, latitude, time of year. If you're in the summer and in a higher latitude, then you're not going to have many night hours. So if you choose to do your Yachtmaster exam at that time, you can be expected to be awake for most of the night, or what night you have, because you're going to need that time to go out there and practice night or put into or execute your night navigation. Not just during the exam, but in preparation for the exam as well. So you might think, okay, if I'm going to be doing it in the west coast of Scotland, where we are mainly with Ardent Training, then perhaps doing it in June or July, it's not going to work. However, if I did it in April, September, October, it's starting to get dark at 7, 8 o'clock at night. We go out, we do 4 hours of night nav, we're in our bunks, wherever we are at 1 in the morning. It's a little bit more feasible. So just have a think about that. Familiar waters. As Yachtmasters, we should be capable of cruising and being in charge of our vessel in any waters, areas, circumstances. However, there is a benefit to doing your Yachtmaster exam somewhere where you have sailed before, and that's okay. It's up to you whether you choose to do that in an area that you're familiar with or not, but it can help. Just gives you that little bit more quick knowledge when you might need it under pressure of the exam, and that you're like, I know exactly where that buoy is. I know where I am. I'm okay. You do want to have a familiar boat and crew, and if you do an RYA prep week, which we are talk to you a little bit about in a few more slides, that familiar boat and crew just happens in your prep week. Otherwise from that, if you've got your own boat or crew that you know, or crew that you can trust, crew that you work with well, then that's all going to help combine into a much better exam experience for you. And touching on that prep week, you're going to have potentially other candidates as well. So they're going to be your crew when you go to do the exam. So yeah, it's just thinking about who am I going to be doing the exam with, and what boat am I going to be doing it on? Am I happy doing my exam on that boat in that area? How to book the exam. So there's 2 ways you can book it. You can contact the RYA and request an examiner or request a Yachtmaster exam. And they will pass that on to an examiner. An examiner would then get in touch with you. You would have to have all the other cogs in place. You'd need your own boat, your own crew, and you would then go through the process of chatting to the examiner as to when you would do the exam. The more popular way for exams to happen is you go to a recognised RYA training centre. They put you on an exam prep week. It's not a course, just a preparation for doing the exam. You're out with a skilled instructor, and they take you through the preparation, and at the end of the week you do the exam, and the training centre organises that. So it's a little bit more off your plate and onto someone else organising. How to book it? So before you sit the exam, you would have to pay your RYA exam payment. In doing so, that would give you an application form. You fill in the rest of your details, and you print that out and take that application form with you on the exam. But basically, before you go to your exam, pay for your exam, fill in your application form, and that's your first bit of paperwork that you're going to need. What other bits of paperwork you're going to take with you? Well, to do a Yachtmaster exam, you need to have a valid VHF SRC certificate. You need a valid and accepted first aid certificate. There's RYA guidelines to what is acceptable for this. You need to take your personal ID to prove who you are, and you also want to take your personal sailing logbook. I always kept my sailing logbook originally in my G158, which, by the way, if you go to the red section, has pretty much all the information I'm telling you tonight in. But you can use this as your logbook. It's got loads of space to fill in all the details. If you don't have one of these, then you should get one. Or if you've got so much sailing experience that there's not enough room, it's okay to create your own sailing logbook. We've got one that we've made up with Ardent Training. You can get it from our resources page. It's pretty similar to what's in here. We've just kind of split it up a little bit more. And the important information is you want to know when your voyage occurred, what type of vessel it was on, where you went, what your job was on the boat, kind of the weather you experienced. You obviously want to count up your night hours at the beginning and count up all your days at sea as well. And signature of skipper. Now, everybody always asks, but I was the skipper. Well, if you're the skipper, then you sign it. Simple as that. It doesn't have to look like this. What you want to do is make sure it's legible. If the examiner has to come on and find and really flick through your stuff and it's not obvious where your 60 nautical mile passages are or your 2,500 nautical miles are, they're going to be starting to ask questions before the exam's even started. So make sure that your information is laid out clearly and precisely as well. Otherwise, you're going to start digging yourself a hole before you've even started. Just keep it all organised. The exam prep course, which I've kind of mentioned a couple of times. So, as I say, run by recognised RYA training centres. And what generally happens is you turn up at the start of the week, you'll chat to your instructor, and they'll be like, okay, what have you done? Do you feel you're really strong in areas? Is there anything that you're like, I can do this, I just need a little bit extra practice? And you're going to have that chat with the instructor. They're going to put you through a very intensive week of prep towards your Yachtmaster exam. And at the end of that week or the prep days, then you'll have the exam. At some point, potentially towards the end of this prep week, the instructor will be in touch with the examiner through the school and they'll be like, okay, so Charlie, I'd like you to plan a passage from A to B. And this is going to be a passage plan that the examiner is going to kind of question you or ask questions about, look at, read. And they might have given you something that's going to be relevant in the exam as well. You never know, might not be. But yeah, make sure you plan a good passage plan so that when your examiner comes on, they can look and check that you know how to make a passage plan. So make sure that is there and it's concise. What to do, though, on these prep courses is many candidates get caught up in this passage plan and they end up spending far too much time on it. I would say if you're at that level, especially Yachtmaster offshore, 2 hours max should be enough to create a good passage plan. It will probably include some sort of tidal gate or tidal stream to take care of. That helps to bulk it out a little bit. But this is something that you'll have to do before the exam, but also you're only told about it during your prep week, so you've got to try and squeeze it in there. And if you booked it on your own boat, or you'd hired a boat, or you're using someone else's boat, and you've booked it through the RYA to get an examiner, then you're going to have to arrange the timings of the exam with the examiner. And then that's you in kind of conversation with the examiner. If they want anything else from you, they're going to ask you. So they're probably going to ask you to create a passage plan. But it's up to you to organise the crew. The examiner is not crew. So you're going to want to have at least 2 other individuals on the boat with you so that you can be the skipper for them. And basically, one of the jobs of being a skipper is how you manage your crew. So the examiner needs to assess this. They can't just go out with you one-on-one. This is kind of covered in the prep week because there's generally 2, 3, 4 candidates in which case when the examiner is examining one candidate, the other candidates are the crew. So that's kind of taken care of already in the prep week. If not, then it's up to the school providing to help man the boat appropriately for the exam that you've booked through them. How long do these exams take? A little bit different for the different ones: Yachtmaster Coastal, Yachtmaster Offshore. One candidate coastal, 6 to 10 hours. One candidate offshore, 8 to 12 hours. And then that drops ever so slightly as we go up the candidate scale. 4 to 8 for coastal and 5 to 9 for offshore per candidate. These are just estimates of what should be. You can see there's quite wide windows. Different weather conditions, different areas, different boats, different abilities of candidates are all going to impact how long the actual exam takes. If you've got 4 people on an exam, or certainly 4 people on an offshore exam, you can expect it to take up to kind of 40, the full 48 hours, depending on, allowing for weather and breaks, etc. It won't be constant. You'll get time to rest and sleep as well in between. When the examiner is on board, they're going to come on, they're going to introduce themselves, they're going to introduce what they expect from the candidates, over the forthcoming time period. And before you get started, they'll obviously check all that paperwork is in order. And that includes your application form, all the extra certificates you need. And before you start, you've then got a choice of, am I doing coastal or offshore? Because as soon as the exam starts, you can't change. You can't start on offshore and then be like, oh, actually, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. Can I go for coastal? That decision needs to be made before you start. And of course, ask any questions. The examiner's not there to trick you or try and put you under pressure or anything like that. They're there just to make sure that you have the qualities to be called RYA Yachtmaster Coastal or Yachtmaster Offshore, and that you exhibit these qualities and you have all the skills to be a yachtmaster. Ask any questions, that especially those that aren't making sense. Probably don't ask any stupid questions, because then they're going to be like, oh, does this person actually know their stuff? If there's something that doesn't make sense, or you're not sure, or what they've asked you to do, you're just not 100% sure, just ask them to clarify. That's totally okay. And everybody would want you to do that. During the exam, and as I said, I'm not here to tell you how to, do your exam, but just to give you an indication, you're going to be asked to skipper the vessel. And then if there's other candidates on board, they're going to be asked to skipper the vessel. But during the whole process, you're under constant evaluation. So even if you're not the designated skipper at any given time, you're still under constant evaluation. The examiner might still want to ask you questions. They might be asking you to set up for your next passage. However they're running it, just remember that to not relax too much, especially for those who've went and done a prep week. During the prep week, you might have done repetition of exercises. So maybe you all had a shot of sailing onto the same mooring buoy one after the other until you mastered it. When you go to the exam, it's not a series of exercises. You'll be skippering quite often a passage or a bit pilotage or something like that. But even if you're just asked to do one little thing, such as I say, sail onto the mooring buoy, don't treat it as an exercise. Treat it as you are the skipper. Your task is to do whatever you've been asked to do, and do all the things that you would normally do as a skipper, bring them all together and just treat it like a mini passage that you're doing. That way the examiner is able to properly examine you in your skippering skills, and you're not just going out and doing a little exercise that you've practiced during the week, because they'll be like, oh, but you didn't do any skippering, you just drove the boat. In all of this, they are going to be observing your overall ability. So it's not just, can this candidate berth the boat? Can this candidate do this? Do they know X, Y, and Z? It's about bringing that all together, and what is your overall ability as a skipper? As I touched on earlier, skippering skills are more than, just sailing the boat, driving the boat, parking the boat. For those who potentially then want to go work or use their RYA Yachtmaster coastal or offshore endorsement, certificate of competence in the commercial world, you might want to get this commercial endorsement. There's a few things you need to do for that. You'll need either an ENG1 or ML5 medical, depending on where you want to use your ticket. You need to have personal survival techniques, also known as sea survival. You also need the RYA PPR course, which you can do online with Ardent Training. And if you don't know if you're going to pass the exam before you go, but if you're like, I want to get my commercial endorsement as quick as possible, do all these before you go, take them with you, and then when the examiner sends off all your paperwork and their report to say, I recommend this person for a Yachtmaster ticket, they can add in this commercial endorsement stuff so that when you get your ticket, straight away, it's got the commercial endorsement on it. So that can help save a little bit of time for yourself. For those who are working in the kind of larger vessels, the super yacht world, that kind of thing, quite often you need to have STCW. And so if you add on PSSR and firefighting certificates, you can get STCW put on your certificate of competence as well. Awesome. Hopefully that's given us a nice little bit of information about what to know before your Yachtmaster exams, what to do beforehand, how, where, why to book your exam, and just a couple of things to be aware of during the whole exam process. If you're watching this on YouTube, then any questions, stick them in the comments below, and one of the team will get back to you. Or indeed, go onto our website. We've got a live chat function there, and you can ask one of our experienced instructors any questions you like. One thing to just add, most of this information is all in here. So if you do have your G158 booked from the RYA, then have a good read of that, and it will just help to kind of drill in what we've been talking about. Thanks very much.
Okay, Charlie, when the house bears about 270 degrees.
Information to work out our distance from the lighthouse and use that.
We might be perfectly on track, but if we're not on time...
Just have a look, I've got my phone here at the effects it has on our steering compass.
Our echo sound is working, we can find a contour and follow it nicely into port.
Our left hand is pointing towards the centre of the low.